something to talk about that's nice. If you don't get reparations, black folk, you're through in this country. Maybe that's very specific for you. You see, what's happening to black Americans is that black Americans have been systematically, socially engineered into the lowest level of a real-life monopoly game. You do not own and control a sufficient amount of anything to be competitive in America. And you've been marginalized now for 400 years. You're getting ready to be buried. You get buried under a whole broad groups, ambiguous groupings. That's everything from culture groups, language groups, and gender groups. You're going down. It's no longer an issue. You got to get reparations and get it fast. Now, to get reparations, one of the things I've been trying to do now for 30 years, beginning with the state of Florida, when Governor Rubin asked me to put me over education when they had no blacks in politics in Florida, was to write the first affirmative action plan in the United States, and that was written to be reparations for black folk in 1971. And George Bush Jr., I guess, Bush just killed off about 6 months ago. But what's happening now is that what I'm trying to do is create a Harvest Institute that would try to take all my colleagues here and as much as possible try to give you new points of information to take you outside the box. Part of the problem we've got in trying to deal with reparations, a lot of the other racial issues in the country, is that we keep trying to think and find solutions inside the box. There are no solutions inside the box for black folk. You got to get outside and try to find and get a long-term perspective and a long view on it. And that's what the Harvest Institute is in existence for, and that's what they're going to stay in existence for. Now, the reason you cannot win, as I said, is that you've been locked into this low level of a real-life monopoly game. You do not own and control enough of wealth. See, in 1860, for instance, black folk, as a direct result of slavery, had an ownership. When you were 98% slaves, you had an ownership of 1/2 of 1% of this nation's wealth in 1860 on the eve of the Civil War. Now, this is the richest country in the world, the most capitalistic country in the world. And here you are 140 years after slavery when you're supposedly 100% free and you still only have 1/2 of 1% of this nation's wealth. You cannot compete. The typical average white person in America has 3,500 times more money than you have. That's not true only of blacks in America, it's true of the world internationally. What's happening right now is blacks is a marginalized, subordinated class of people all over the earth. You have 1/2 of 1% of wealth in this nation. The same thing is true all over the world. In the world, there's approximately $392 trillion worth of wealth on the earth. And black folk around in the world have less than 1% ownership of it.
Good afternoon on the West Coast. Good afternoon in the mountain. Good afternoon in the central. Good afternoon on the East Coast. You know exactly who it is, family. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the Reparationist Perspective, bringing you those Adocs hot topics and making the case for reparations, making the case for weaponizing our vote and socializing our suffering. And today, family, this is your noon edition of As the World of Adocs Turns, your midday wake-up call. Yes, it is, family. Thank you so much, Brandon Hill, for joining the live. And for those of you who have yet to chat where you're viewing from, welcome to the live. So let's jump right into it because I've got to turn over this laptop in particular for my daughter's testing this afternoon. I'll be back at 6 o'clock for your anti-black racism report. My apologies for not joining you last night. My daughter, who is 5'10", and 150 pounds, decided to get in my lap. She needed her mommy, so I gave her her mommy. Okay? Adocs life. Okay? We've got to, as a people, be available to everyone. Right? And so when our children need our time, we just have to acquiesce and do it another day. So let's get into it. So Biden, we want to talk about how he was for the reparations in the HR 440 study, and now backing off, and why that's problematic, family, and why it's up to us. If we want to be repaired, it is on us to do as our ancestors did, to insist on our emancipation. That did not come easy, and neither will reparations. You have to understand. You have to understand that politicians respond to pressure, not applause. Adocs and allies. The allies I'm treating as the abolitionists over here. Okay. We need all hands on deck. And so I don't want you to confuse me comparing the data of how immigration is being weaponized against us with a lot of this spin about me being xenophobic. That is a lie. I'm not homophobic, but I do see agendas to extinct the black family. Oh, yes, the government is very good at, how Barack Nobama was all about LGBTQIA while being a no to our repair. Remember that? This is why Biden and Obama have no problem telling you during the race that nothing would fundamentally change for Adocs. And they ain't doing nothing specific for us. They meant what they said. And yet we ran to the polls, 87% of our electorate, to vote this into office. That's on us. I don't know of any other groups voting without demands or allowing the boule to convince you that you can get tangibles once you elect these Mickey Fickies. It never happens. Didn't happen under 2 terms of Nobama. It ain't never going to happen. He has set the stage to make sure the white oppressive boot of this government remains on us until. But it's up to us to move as a block. We can't give in, we can't give up, we can't give out. If you have not seen Underground on Hulu, you must tune in. What up, Miss Lady K Love? I see you, fam. You must tune in and get the fortitude to persist in your reparations. That's the only way it happens. You've got to tune out the negative Nancys and Nads who convince you to spew white racist tropes like it's never going to happen. We know that our walk as a people has been by faith, which is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things yet to be seen. And had the people that preceded the reparationist movement, which we are, not pushed and pushed and pushed, we wouldn't be a household name to this day. We wouldn't be on the lips of everybody in this country and the world to this day. They are watching us as closely as they are watching the Black Lives Matter movement, because Black lives will never matter until we have economic justice and inclusion. Understand that dollars bring dignity, and being poor makes us George Floyd. 9 minutes, 29 seconds to the neck, literally and figuratively, okay? None of this happens without us continuing to lean in, and I'm going to share a brilliant example of us getting reparations done on the state level. How much more could we get done on the federal level if we move as a block? I see you, Amos Jones. Yes, you must watch Underground and see Noah and Rosalie's insistence on freedom. How they went back like Harriet Tubman to free more slaves. They were killed. They were killing. They did whatever it took for us to enjoy the luxuries we have today. They didn't just attempt to negative Neds and Nancys on the plantation who didn't have the consciousness Okay, see, they're claiming I'm having internet connectivity problems. That always seems to happen when I'm speaking truth to power. I always, for some reason, when I go live, get issues on the line. When I'm trying to finish my thought, they come in with this nonsense. I got the best of all the Wi-Fi's out there through Spectrum. I pay the most. But now they want to claim I got problems. Well, y'all, hang in there. It's going to be a long afternoon. And what we don't finish this afternoon, I'll be back because I got to finish this conversation because I'm sick of seeing the benign neglect by our government and the negative Nads and Nancys amongst Adocs, particularly the boule, who want to try to convince you that this will never get done. I see you, Brian Johnson. I see you, Amos Jones, Brandon Hill, Miss Lady K Love. Okay? They're trying to do a Jedi mind trick on you so that you will quit. You know, like the negative Nads and Nancys on the plantation. that never believed in our freedom until we got it, these folks will believe reparations when it starts to deposit into their checking accounts. They will not have deserved it because they will not have put in any muscle and any consciousness behind it happening, but they'll get it nonetheless. We are the unsung sheroes and heroes of this movement. I need y'all to lean in. I need you to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and make this go viral because the puckery is real. So let's get into it. Let me fly my banner. Thank you for supporting my voice. It's an honor and a privilege to fight for Adocs, and your financial support enables me to do that on a more consistent basis and become independent of ScrewTube and Facebook. So thank you for that. Okay, let's get into it. So there was a time when the Biden senior advisor said the White House will start acting on reparations Now, you've got to read between the puckery because what they're trying to do is what they've already done. Weaponize immigration against us to protect their capitalism and guarantee we remain the anchor of that capitalism, that we become fourth-class citizens in the country with 3 Ks that our ancestors built with their lives. They're trying to make Adocs eat the cost of slavery. It's going down right before your eyes in plain sight. The puckery is happening in plain sight as black folks just run off and do whatever the hell, off into the tumbleweeds instead of getting in this fight. If we were all in this fight, even with critical mass, don't you think they'd be singing a different tune? But no, y'all keep voting for this trifecta to your own people's undoing. So the White House is going to start acting now. This was in March. Let me tell you what the date is so we can have a timeline of the puckery. March 1st, 2021. Watch this. They're going to start acting now on March 1st to address reparations to African Americans, a White House senior advisor said in a new interview as Congress debates forming a commission to study how the policy could be implemented. Speaking to Axios on HBO, in an interview set to air Monday, White House senior advisor Cedric Richmond discussed efforts targeted to helping minority communities. See, there it is. There's the curse word. When you want to continue into your benign neglect of Adocs, you start throwing around minority, people of color. Whose ancestors built this? American descendants of chattel slavery only. I didn't see no Hispanics. I didn't see no Indians. I didn't see no Asians. I didn't see no white folks. And yet you got this black boule, Cedric Richmond, White House senior advisor. Richmond is an Adocs last name. Who knows? Discussing efforts targeted to helping minority communities get rid of the word. You correct anyone who tries to call you colored, people of color, BIPOC, minority. Tell them you are a proud American descendant of chattel slavery, or a proud descendant of freed men and women, or a proud ADOS, or a proud foundational Black American. Okay? That's what you tell them. That is the ethnicity bill we're pushing down here, to be labeled as Black American descendants of U.S. chattel slavery. Because this is the way they give us programs that don't close the over $100 trillion egregious racial wealth gap. I share with you that puckery of a survey that had nothing to do with cash repair. We got all the degrees we need, and we're still on the bottom. I shared with you in an earlier archive on Tulsa that white folks' median income is $113,000 to black folks. No, I'm sorry, their median net worth is $113,000 to Hispanics, $6,500 to black folks, Adocs, $5,677 were more degrees than the Hispanics and damn near as degreed as the white folks in Tulsa. So all of this fixing everybody with our reparations, as they conveniently done with this pandemic. I ain't got to that show yet. I got to add a show on Friday because I got to get to that. How this government has been complicit in using our tax dollars to create these coronaviruses in labs in China, and Fauci's involvement, and all the Krispy Kremes, the marijuana, the reduced prison sentences. I could go on and on that they're trying to give to force us to that. We're going to get into it tomorrow on As the, oh Lord, why do people call me when I'm trying to get this in? Oh, to Jesus. Anywho, back to my text. We're going to get into that tomorrow. I'm rethinking how I'm going to do these shows because I can't really tell you when I can go live anymore. My life is just that action-packed between working in the courts, managing my daughter, and growing new black media as a force to be reckoned with. Y'all may get a notice an hour before I go. That just may have to be how it is. My videos, once I get transferred over to the reprospect.com, will not live on ScrewTube to shut me down or disable me in the way Facebook did. So you better get over there on the email list so you can be notified. I'll be live here. It'll live at the reprospect.com. I will own my own content and not be censored. So if you don't catch it live, there's going to come a time when you're going to be rerouted to the reprospect.com to see it. Okay? Spread the word. While the administration may back the study, Richmond added that they were not waiting on Congress. Quote, "We don't want to wait on a study. We're going to start acting now," he told the outlet. "We have to start breaking down systemic racism and barriers that have held people of color back, and especially African Americans," Richmond told the outlet. "We have to do stuff now." You see? You see how if we don't put up a gate for American descendants of chattel slavery, there will be $5 white Adocs, $5 Hispanic Adocs, $5 Indian Adocs, $5 Asian Adocs. And all of those groups have received $1 bazillion. While we are the anchor of this country's capitalism by design of institutional systemic racism. Bro, if you start talking about free college tuition to historically black colleges and universities, and you start talking about free community college in Title I and all of those things, I think that you are well on your way. You see what they're doing, family. I just told you we are a close second, if not leading the pack in many states, than white folks in terms of college degrees. And we are still wealthless. 90% of the blacks in this country are Adocs. We share less than $700 billion since COVID, while black immigrants share $2.5 trillion predominantly, and white folks and other immigrants share over $100 trillion. Education doesn't close this egregious racial wealth gap. I'm not discouraging you from getting educated, but do know that your degree can land you behind an Uber or shopping for groceries. As they dial back our affirmative action for Adocs, who it was intended, and give it to all the other groups, while telling you quotas aren't needed because they fill the quotas. So they don't have to hire us, and they don't, while making it reverse discrimination. When you stand up for Adocs specifically as a group, when you demand quotas, it's reverse discrimination against immigrants and white folks. That's what they're claiming. To make you, that's the Jedi mind trick. To make you think you're winning because we got a handful of celebrities who are also the bootlegs and the coons. They are the colored faces of white supremacy. Getting in the way of this reparations. When without it, as I shared at the top of the show, Dr. Claude Anderson said, we're finished. They want to play these Mickey-Ficky games by giving away education. What difference does it make if you're still not able to find work because you don't speak Spanish? As the way of California goes, so goes the nation. If it ain't in your town, it's coming to a theater near you. Don't get comfortable thinking that's not our monkey nor our circus. Oh, it's coming. As the Biden administration plans to bring in a good 22 million more immigrants, 500,000 of which are East Indian Brahmin caste, Kabama's people, white in India, who are coming over here with wealth to take over the multiple six-figure tech jobs while they prepare a preschool to prison pipeline for Adocs children. They take those monies, those public school dollars, and put it into white neighborhoods so that they can do another white wealth transfer with our public school tax dollars to give their kids a public private education. I have to take a sip. Welcome to the line, where it's always live, okay? I don't hold no punches. We can't afford to. Thank you. In legislation first introduced by the late Representative John Conyers, a Democrat in Michigan in 1989, and reintroduced repeatedly in years since by Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, who's been dancing the jig in Tulsa while passing out surveys on race to give protections to their failed mission to take care of all people of color and minorities under the Congressional Black Caucus. While the other groups are specific to the needs of the other groups. They don't include Adocs. I don't see it nowhere in the language on those sites. Look it up. Democratic lawmakers have called for Congress to form a commission to study the issue. How come we need so much study? The only thing you need to study is the cash repair. Study the number. Mayor's Consortium already told you 6.2 quadrillion. That's 151 million per Adocs. You can have a layaway plan and pay it over time. If it took 500 years for you to drive us into this Holocaust, it's going to take you 1,000 to pull us out. And what we do today, family, will guarantee this happens. It's on us to continue to push the boulder up the 90-degree hill, okay? It's on us. Like the ancestors insisted on our emancipation and insisted on the civil rights we enjoy today, as do the other immigrants enjoy. And white folks have always enjoyed. That legislation saw an uptick in interest last summer following the death of George Floyd, an unarmed black man whose killing by a white police officer sparked nationwide outrage. Yeah, now they want a George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, which doesn't end qualified immunity. Banning chokeholds and no-knock warrants would not have saved George Floyd. Reparations have been debated for decades prior to this past summer without any results. These results are attributable to the reparationist movement, formerly the Adocs movement. They don't want to give us credit for this coming out of hiding. But it was our pressure that the politicians responded to. Give yourselves a round of applause. It's going to take that same pressure to deliver the reparations. That's why you see me over here every day losing my voice. If my ancestors could endure what they did to guarantee my freedom, then losing my voice is a cakewalk. After clinching the Democratic president nomination last year, President Biden added supporting the study of reparations to his platform. In early February, the White House and Biden is open to naming a group to study the issue. Quote, he certainly would support a study of reparations. Of course they would. They don't have any cash attached to it. But if you fill that survey out like I shared with you, the CBC survey, at least in that survey, they had an other box where I gave you a paragraph to demand cash repair in the trillions over multi-generations. Look at the archive, just about a week ago. But it must have been effective because now this new survey on race doesn't have any place where you can give context to the bullshit they're spinning on that survey. I went through the survey one day this week. Look at the archive. Quote, he certainly would support a study of reparations, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said at a briefing in early February. He understands we don't need a study to take action right now on systemic racism, so he wants to take actions within his own government in the meantime. Let's talk about those actions he's taking. Let's talk about the actions. Oh, wait. Hold up. Let's talk about the puckery. Biden announces a new plan to narrow the racial wealth gap, including $100 billion more in federal contracts to small businesses and rules to end housing discrimination. Oh, Lord. The White House on Tuesday announced a new plan to narrow the racial wealth gap. If we don't say Adocs, it ain't for us. It's aimed to help small businesses access federal contracts and to address housing discrimination. Biden announced the measures on the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa race massacre. President Joe Biden's administration on Tuesday announced new measures designed to narrow the racial wealth gap and build wealth in Black communities. You mean the ones that have been gentrified? The plan aims to help reduce discrimination in the housing market and increase the number of federal contracts given to small disadvantaged businesses by 50%, resulting in an extra $100 billion in contracts over the next 5 years, the White House said in a press release. The Biden-Harris administration unveiled the measure on the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa race massacre, when a white supremacist mob killed an estimated 300 Black Americans in the Greenwood district of Tulsa, also known as Black Wall Street. Lies! There were 10,000 people there. 6,000 were in internment camps. If only 300 were killed, where did the other 3,700 go? You mean they got away when there were air raids by the National Guards? The troops were dropping bombs. They bombed 36 blocks in Tulsa, and only 300 people died, and 6,000 were left in internment camps. Really? And no, they rule the day we ever learn how to read and count. Okay? This is why they didn't want us reading. They didn't want us counting. Because then we can call out this kind of fuckery. Back to the text. Woo cha, the ghetto. I got 27 minutes. We're going to probably have to pick this up the second half at 6 o'clock. Because disparities in wealth compound like an interest rate, the White House statement said that disinvestment in Black families in Tulsa and across the country throughout the history is still felt sharply today. Home ownership is a key part of Biden's plan to build wealth in Black communities. The statement cited a 2018 Brookings study that found that houses in majority Black neighborhoods were often valued at tens of thousands of dollars less than similar homes in majority white areas. We don't own those homes anymore. How do we own those homes? So who are you making whole? The immigrants and white folks in the neighborhoods that you gentrify. We can't get home loans with a median income of $41,000 and a median national home price of $340,000. This is why you must demand cash for your reparations. This is how they give away everything to all the other groups that our ancestors' heinous chattel slave labor feeds. The White House said a cross-government effort could enforce existing fair housing laws and develop guidance to, quote, root out discrimination in the appraisal and home buying process. And neutralize you economically. What homes do we own? The White House statement also included more details about programs in Biden's American Jobs Plan to build wealth in communities of color. Here we go. You just read long enough, you'll see the puckery. Just keep reading. You go to Tulsa, where we were leveled, and you want to talk about the American Jobs Plan, which predominantly helps everyone but Adocs. In the same way affirmative action helps everyone but Adocs. Because that's what the American Jobs Plan is. Go look it up. And now you got white folks doing shite like this. Hold on. Hold on. Lord. All I can do is laugh at the puckery. Let's talk about what the white folks are doing through the feds. Lord have mercy. I already did this article on another archive about how the white farmers have taken the issue of reverse discrimination to the federal court, to the federal conservative courts, to the Supreme Conservative Courts, and are now calling Biden's $4 billion earmarked for us and people of color as compared to the $46 billion Trump gave to white farmers as reverse discrimination for the COVID relief. And they prevailed in the high courts. That what Biden is planning to do, as minuscule as it is by the time it gets to us, is discrimination against white farmers. Brace yourself for the same thing to happen to our reparations. This ain't a fight just to get cash repair in the trillions over multi-generations. It is a fight that we will have to teach our children to keep a gate around what is due us before the same thing happens to our repair as has happened to our affirmative action. This fight will be for the rest of our days because of these conservative courts that are in there until they die, saying that anything specific for Adocs is reverse discrimination. You didn't hear this when Biden just gave $80.5 million to AAPI for their COVID relief, for their domestic violence, and for their anti-Asian racist sentiment, which we are dying disproportionately from. The Senate passed their protections 94-1. It said the measure included a new $10 billion community revitalization fund to pay for community-led civic infrastructure projects that aim to, quote, spark new local economic activity. The puckery. Welcome to the live. Welcome to the live. Oh my God. Fix it, Black Jesus. I don't know if I can say that. Lord of mercy. Okay, so let me get into this article because I ain't even done this part. So I told y'all in March what was going down. They want to urgently pass free college to a group they've neutralized economically while including people of color. That's got to be urgently done. Biden's got all these other initiatives to make all these other groups protected and economically better off than we are when they collude with the government and are complicit in institutional systemic racism because Hispanics and Asians have been made white. Black immigrants have been made white by their dollars. And so now on June 1, April, May, June, 3 months later, Biden administration wary of backing reparations ahead of the Tulsa visit. Oh my God. A White House spokesperson dodged a question from a reporter Tuesday about whether President Joe Biden supports reparations for victims of the Tulsa race massacre ahead of an event commemorating its 100th anniversary. As the president, like most Democrats, continue to tread lightly on the issue of compensating victims of that tragedy or the descendants of Black slaves. Biden backed the study of reparations during the 2020 campaign. Excuse me, family. And Vice President Kamala Harris, doing her run at the White House, threw her weight behind a Senate bill that would create a reparations commission and a proposal to fund mental health treatment as a form of restitution. Most Democratic lawyers backed the bill that would create a commission to study reparations, H.R. 40, but it's not clear when it will make it to the House floor. After the bill passed the committee along party lines, House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, Democrat in Maryland, told reporters in April he would start the process of scheduling it for a vote, but said it might take some time. Doesn't it always when it comes to Adocs? It took no time to give Asians protection. It took no time to give them $80.5 million. It took no time to give the Indians more repair in the amount of $30.2 billion. But when it comes to Adocs, it's always the midnight train to nowhere. And yet we must lean in. Hoyer's office did not immediately respond to Forbes' request for comment Tuesday about the status of the legislation. Crucial quote: the White House did not jump at the chance to advance the bill before it passed committee in April. No one from the Biden administration testified in support of the legislation during a House Judiciary Committee subpanel, and House Press Secretary Jen Psaki was non-committal about Biden's support. Quote, it's working its way through Congress. How convenient. You mean the same Congress where 8 Democrats voted down a $15 an hour minimum wage? Okay. Psaki responded when asked if Biden would sign the legislation quote, we certainly support a study, but we'll see what happens through the legislative process. Oh, we know what's going to happen. When you got 8 Republicans in Democratic clothing, at least 8. But we're supposed to have control of the Senate, right? Surprising fact, a bill to establish a commission to study reparations has been introduced in every Congress for more than 3 decades, according to Politico. In 2019, a reparations bill was introduced in the Senate for the first time since Reconstruction. Not so big number, 2.6%. That's the percentage of wealth held by Black Americans who make up 13% of the U.S. population, according to a 2016 survey of Consumer Finance Study. What is it post the pandemic? Run me those numbers. Let me see what you have to say about it before I have to jump. Let's see, I got 12:14. Let me see something, family. See if I can squeeze in one more thing. I'm gonna say that I don't feel like jumping into that when I can't finish it. So I'm gonna pick up with what's problematic about suing for reparations in Tulsa. I'm gonna pick that up. There is a nuisance. Let me show you 1 second. Let me say this correctly. Okay. Hold on, family. I want to say this correctly. And this is why you need a president that is as exuberant about writing executive orders for Adocs specifically as they are all the other groups. Because this is what's happening in Tulsa. Hold on 1 second. The success of the new Tulsa race massacre reparations lawsuit hinges on the state's nuisance law, attorneys say. So I'm going to come back at 6 and talk about when can you sue your neighbor for nuisance. I'm going to talk about, hold on. I'm going to talk about how we're getting reparations done here in California. I'm going to talk about what's problematic with them getting reparations done in Evanston. I'm going to talk a little bit more when I find that article on how they're calling the COVID rescue plan anti-white and what the courts have done about that. I'm going to talk I'm going to finish up Stop Hustling Black Death, Samaria Rice's story. Okay, then that will conclude this segment of Pocket Watching, your midday wake-up call under the As the World of Adocs Turns series. That's at 6 p.m. We'll do those things. That way, I don't have to start and stop, and I can look at your comments and include them real quick. Brian says that was like Biden talking about doing something to benefit all of Tulsa, not specifically Greenwood District or its Black residents. Yep. He goes on to say, again, this is synonymous to gashing someone's throat and then passing out Band-Aids to benefit everyone. What's up, Babe Rex? I see you, family. Miss Letty K. Love says foolishness. Okay, Miss Letty K. Love is being banned for 6 more days on Facebook. Maurice Carlisle, welcome to the live. He's being banned. They're COINTELPROing us, family. That means we're effective. Lean in. How is Miss Letty K. Love as How is white folk being discriminated against? That's laughable. That's what they're trying to turn everything we're fighting for, specifics for American descendants of chattel slavery, into anti-white racism. Reverse discrimination. It's laughable and unconscionable. But it is a puckery of the corporate news network with 3 Ks and the benign neglect of the Democrats. Lion Biden. Fix it, Black Jesus. All of that is coming to some merchandise. Y'all just stay tuned over at thereprospect.com. It's going to be so much fun. God has given me some amazing ideas for t-shirts, mugs, and satchels. That's one of them. Biden and the Democrats cannot run away from this reparations issue. They can try to derail it with this rise and tides, lift all ships, but we must lean in and stress specificity. Brian, that deserves to be shown. We must lean in. Politicians respond to what? Pressure, not applause. Keep lighting them up in the Twitter. Keep lighting the CDC up. Keep threatening their positions in Congress. Keep all leaning in, family. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, ScrewTube. Keep leaning in, Adocs, FBA B1, Friedman. We stay in the back of the bus as ADOS. Manchin will hold that up. Anti-white, yeah, okay, laughable. With that said, family, we're at 12:20. I love you, Black and Strong, and I hope to see you back here at 6 for part 2 of your midday wake-up call. And how Biden's benign neglect of ADOCs started with Nobama. Peace, family. See you soon.